Hey guys, welcome to the Blue Collar Business Podcast, where we discuss the realest, rawest, most relevant stories and strategies behind building every corner of a blue collar business. I'm your host, Cy Kirby, and I want to help you. What it took me, trial and error, and a whole lot of money to learn. The information that no one in this industry is willing to share. Whether you're under that shade tree or have your hard hat on, let's expand your toolbox. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Blue Collar Business Podcast, sponsored today by podcastvideos.com. I'm sitting in one of their beautiful solo pod rooms here in their Rogers, Arkansas location here in Northwest Arkansas. I'm absolutely thrilled to bring you guys a very unique story, and the good guys do win sometimes. And the experience on one end, the education on another, and it's met in the middle. And these guys have got a very number one unique product, and they found the niche in the market that we talk about on this show all the time, riches in the niches. And these guys didn't just, oh, there's a problem here, fix it. They did it themselves. So very unique story. Hang in there for that. Basically, Bear Iron Works, Mike and Roggen Frick, correct?
Yes.
I nailed it.
That's us.
All right, good. These guys have been reached out to the show through podcast videos. I just wanted to shine some light there for the PV team. And they reached out through bluecollarbusinesspodcast.com. You can get all of our episodes on there, totally free, audio or video. Or you can be following along on any of your platforms, podcast platforms, total, if you already have a subscription on there. Furthermore, thank you guys so much for joining me today for an episode. Seriously.
Yeah, thanks for having us on today.
Yeah, exciting.
All right. So I don't know who wants to take the floor first, but give us the intro of Bear Iron Works. These guys have built BearIronWorks.net. These guys have got construction entrance solution. I was blown away when I saw that. I'm like, I don't know why nobody's thought of that. And concrete washout tubs. I saw you guys do bedding boxes. So from there, take it away, guys.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll let Mike, I think you should start because you're the one that kind of came up with the idea.
So yeah, I've been in the construction business pretty much my whole life. And then I worked underground in a coal mine right off the bat out of high school, basically, in a large construction company. Grew up on a cattle ranch my dad had. He also had a construction business at the same time he had the ranch to supplement the ranch, basically. So we did oil field work at the time. And of course, I think I told you my dad had a big background in construction back in the day, starting in 1950s. So
you got to share the note you shared with me.
Yeah, so he's got claim to fame to being the first guy to scratch ground on Eisenhower Tunnel. I think it was 1952. I don't remember the name of the company he worked for, but back then he was in the labor union or the operators union. So he worked for companies like Kiewit and HD Laudermilk and big companies like that back in the day. And so as time went on in my career, working in mining, and I started my own business, and I needed to screen rock, so I made a rock screen and had one laying around and all the time working on it and doing different things to it. And so one day I was usually rock screens, kind of an odd thing. How we came up with our idea was they're called grizzlies.
Okay.
So back in the day, the guys way back in the 50s and prior to that, guys were just screening off the big rock to get the smaller rock with what they called a grizzly. They weren't necessarily screening down to like small, finer material. Like, I don't think they hardly ever screened anything under 4 inches. So they just called grizzlies back in the day. And that's kind of how they went along through the ages. And one day I was playing golf at a golf tournament to a construction organization, and I seen the golf course had a small one for a skid steer. And I thought, man, that's a super good idea, because I mean, really back when I got started, skid steers weren't really they were just barely up and coming at the time. And everybody had backhoes and bigger stuff. And I thought, well, one of these days I'm going to make one, because I had a welding background. I went through welding school and high school and in a trade college. So I eventually made these skid steer size rock screen. And so I sold some at Ritchie Brothers auctions. I put them on Craigslist. Rogan went to school, Colorado State University, for construction management. He needed a job, and he developed a website, and he started building rock screens in Fort Collins, Colorado. And he found out that there was a demand for it. And so, and then we developed, I guess, what we developed was we put the removable screen on top, so we can screen down to 1/8 inch or less if you want.
Oh,
So
wow.
we've done one just recently, 1/8 inch minus, and it went to Casa Grande National Ruins in Casa Grande, Arizona, so they can make pottery. The tribe there wants to make pottery, so it's screening down fine enough to make pottery. And then we also sold another one to them, so they're reconstructing some of the adobe ruins that are at the Casa Grande National Ruin site. So that
Oh
was
my
kind of a cool thing.
gosh.
Yeah,
And y'all offered a solution from a gentleman from a mine site.
yeah. You can go ahead, Rog.
Yeah,
Take it from there.
when I started it, I was just looking. I ride motocross; that's my hobby, and so I was just looking to have a shop to have my dirt bike in. And so I rebuilt a buddy of mine. He blew up the engine in his. So I bought it from him from a couple $100. I rebuilt the motor and sold it on Craigslist, and that was enough to pay for the first month's rent, and then some of my savings got me a welder. Um, and so I just needed to sell enough just to pay the month's rent is the whole goal, right? And so I made the
Yeah.
website, and all of a sudden, I'm getting a lot of calls. I'm not doing any Google ads or anything like that. People are just finding me, and I'm selling enough of these rock screens that pretty soon I'm in another facility. I have a forklift. I've hired two part-time welders from the college that I've taught how to weld and how to cut, and I'm like running the whole business on my own. And it was just a lot to juggle, trying to go to
Oh,
school, run a business, and when it was supposed to just be kind of this little side job, I was staying up. Sometimes we'd be welding until like 2, 3 in the morning to get the orders
oh
done, and
my
then I'd have to go to class
God.
the next day. And so it kind of came down to a point where I had to like make a decision. Do I want to go with the business or do I want to continue with school? And then I had a dirt bike injury, and that kind of made the decision for me. So I went to school, finished up school. Um, and I went to work for a general contractor for a while and did school remodels on public schools. And um, Mike was working for Kiewit, and he was like, what if we went all in on the rock screen business? And because the demand seemed like it was there. And so we joined our forces, and we've grown it now. We've expanded our product lines. We've got the rock screens, we've got the bedding boxes, washout tubs, tracking pads, and we're looking to expand our product lines a little bit more. We set up a good operational team, and then I've put in a lot of focus on making sure that the buying process is clear, transparent, honest to our customers, as well as a smooth process. You can go onto our website and you can purchase a rock screen, and it shows you what's in inventory. It'll automatically put stuff onto our manufacturing schedule if it's not in inventory. And you can always call us, and we're going to pick up the phone. A real human's going to pick up the phone and talk to our customers. And we just kind of kept improving as we went along. And we really did find a niche in the market that needed to be filled. And it's been working really well for us.
You know, I heard you said, I want to know, Mike, this may be a question for you before we go too much further. Is there a part of the process in mining material, obviously, that needs to get rock screened, but for the folks that ain't got any idea what the application would be, let's maybe start there before we go too far in depth on it.
So yeah, I mean, so what we did is we took we've kind of invented the small rock screen. Although we make a large one for mining companies, um, we've got large construction companies that buy them, all the way down to people that have their own little garden. So we have one small enough you can use a small garden tractor on. So they can
Wow.
screen, like if they're maybe making compost or screening their own topsoil or mixing it however they want, or screening out rock to make their topsoil. So you got that kind of customer. Then we kind of move up to a landowner that maybe he's like, hey, I got to improve my road, um, and I got to screen out the big rock and or the dirt to to have rock for my road or whatever that may be. Um, Landowners down in Texas, we sell a lot down there to get rock out of their ponds when they're building ponds, so they won't leak. Um, so then we move on up to like the big contractors that are maybe they're screening out the bigger rock before they throw it in their crusher. We've got a company, Cemex. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They supply one of the largest suppliers of cement in the United States and, of course, Mexico. Um, they screen off their big stuff before they run it through a crusher, so they can get it down to size. Um, Another company that we sold to was all your shingles that come into the United States, probably Canada too, is they use coal cinders. So after the coal's already burnt, they take these cinders that are from the coal. It's like the ash, but it's hard. They crush them up. So they screen off to a certain size, then they run it through the crusher, and then they make the shingles. So, yeah, we have a wide variety of customers that screen. It's just a static screen. Since I was in the business of construction, I was able to make something that was usable for everybody. And we even have a small one that we're about to bring online. We can shovel it by hand, and I've been testing it out here in Arizona. In the
This
gold
is
mining.
just what a wide range of markets you just listed off there.
Yeah,
Go
it's
ahead, Rob.
very interesting. I mean, it's like there's a lot of different industries that need it. We thought that, okay, agriculture, construction, and mining would be the ones that would have a use for this. But then, you get called all the time for different kinds of things, glass recyclers, metal recyclers,
I'm a
loggers.
firewood
They need
guy.
to get, yeah, they need to get the dirt out of their firewood because they can't sell the firewood if it's dirty. The stores won't take it. So they just need to clean the dirt off the firewood. And it's a lot of different uses. And then
Wow.
the most obvious use for them are like is when you have to do construction and you can't import soil, or it's expensive to import soil, right? If you
Yeah.
can make it on site, it saves a lot of money. We even have one, it got helicoptered into the bottom of the Grand Canyon, so that they could do, I think there's a water treatment facility down there that's for the national park and it serves the national park. And they helicoptered it down there, and then they were making their own soil on site, their own bedding material and everything. Helicoptered it back out. Yeah, it's crazy the amount of uses there are for these.
No, I think it's cool that it just came from Mike, just one, I guess, assuming it was just one day it just clicked and you were just like, yeah, I get it. This is, getting the 4-inch material off, but then to start condensing and compacting to smaller and mid-sized contractors to fit all these, not, yeah, you're right. The agricultural uses, firewood. That's crazy. Of course. Why wouldn't it? Anything to efficiently, you can use a machine or whatever and speed up labor. Of course you're going to, but and this, and so I also want to shine some light here, Rogan. Did you build all the website yourself? Is that what I heard?
So yeah, initially, I built the website myself, and then I launched the e-commerce site that you see today. But since then, I've hired out some help with a marketing agency to help us improve upon it, make it look better, make it work better, right? Because, I went to school for construction. I'm by no means a web developer, so I
Right.
can only do so much.
I did the exact same thing, but I just think it's so cool how you guys both used your strengths and meshed them together, and you tested the market, proved the concept. Here we are. Let's run with this. What year did you guys both kind of decide to go all in on this?
2020. So right at the
Oh,
beginning of COVID is when we started.
oh,
And it
super
took off.
challenge, I would assume.
It took off right away.
Yeah, surprisingly, construction's a lag industry. So, when recession hits, well, there's still open contracts for most people. So it might be a year or two before those companies start to feel it. And I think COVID, definitely took a dip, but then it came back pretty quick. I think that construction was able to weather that decently, at least certain sectors of it. Residential probably got hit hard, but um,
I agree with that. Just I think it's that interest rate drove things crazy more than anything. Yes, of course, material rejection never came, and material was all over the place, up, down, and you couldn't get a consistent delivery date. You couldn't get a
no.
consistent price. It was always fluctuating. So COVID hits, and you guys now. So you guys are 5 years in, and
Mhm.
now when did you guys start moving into various product lines? Because obviously the screens were working, and so
Mhm.
you're just looking for. I'm assuming, Rogan, you're kind of that product specialist trying to find what works, what doesn't work, kind of thing.
So Mike always comes up with the ideas for the products because he has so much experience in the construction industry. He knows, what's needed. I just help refine them and just try to help make them efficiently because we believe in lean management in our company and trying to cut away waste.
Yeah, I gotta tell you a little bit about Rogan's background though too. Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier before the podcast started about daddies giving them their stuff. Rogan never got anything from me. I'm gonna tell you that right off the bat. I mean, I helped him buy a pickup in the beginning, but
You bet.
it was probably had 200,000 miles on it too.
Yeah.
And he became a very good mechanic because of it. Uh,
Yeah.
but no, he when he was young, I had my construction company and I had big excavators, big ones, and I would let him run. I'd strap him in the seat at like 3 years old and let him run. Right, just idle it down, let him run it. My dad also did the same thing with him. My dad always had a backhoe around, and he let him run the backhoe, and at the same time he learned how to work too. I mean, he could shovel,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Hmm.
he learned how to weld right away. When I was closing the abandoned mines, we had a lot of welding to do, and Rogan, I mean, he would come out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we was out middle of nowhere, Colorado, and he was like, "Hey man, can you go cut this piece of iron and bring it back to us?" Because sometimes we couldn't set up everything right at the entry. So he learned how to weld there. And along, he did a lot. He learned a lot. I was teaching him, and then I was glad that he went to college to learn, construction management, and he has put all that together, and it's helped so much because, like you said, I kind of come up with the ideas, but then he kind of like looks at them and goes, "What about this or whatever?" And like on our bedding boxes, we started making bedding boxes for mini excavators. No one had ever done that before. And then we got copied. Our competitors copied us, and then we decided we're going to put a skid steer plate on them, and so you can carry them around with a skid steer and take them to the excavator, and you can actually dump into a dump truck, so you're not wasting any material whatsoever, and then take it with a skid steer over there, drop it off to the excavator, and use it. So it's been a lot of help. Rogan's been a lot of help because he knows how to video everything and look at how to look at everything because he's worked at it, and it's helped tremendously.
I think that's again playing to your strengths.
Yeah,
I think
Hmm.
all of us guys in the field that are out here, whether we're operating, swinging a shovel, whatever it is, we always are sitting there trying to find a more efficient way to do something. It's like a daily check in our head, but then carrying it past that, that's where
Hmm.
myself I lack because I'm like, oh, this would be such a good idea. Let's try this. And I don't hold myself accountable or anybody else accountable and it just dies. And so to have that teamwork is unbelievable. And kudos to you guys because I'm sitting here, I'm kind of, my mouth is open because I'm like, you guys got a bedding box that a mini X can work on. And I'm like, I can't tell you how many water distribution rehab, like you guys probably know better than I have. You're selling them, but I'm just thinking of all the smaller situations that a 308 or a 60 size machine that is tight in the backyards. We did a small rehab. And we went from a 2 inch to an 8 inch in an easement between backyards. Like that thing right there could have saved us. And I got to say, I'm so glad I'm learning about you guys and then throwing it on a skid steer plate.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of products, that a lot of the construction industry doesn't even necessarily know about, that I've met a lot of guys that, they know a little bit, maybe a rock screen exists, but they don't exactly, they haven't used one before. There's still a lot of contractors out there that are installing utilities and don't know about bedding boxes, which it saves you so much material when you can move it along in a box instead of scooping it along the way, and yeah, that's
Gravel,
why
gravel
we want to make
village.
sure that everybody can learn about our products and know about them because they're useful. That's why they exist. That's why the whole company exists, is because they're a useful product.
Gravel spillage is one of my worst nightmares. Being a utility contractor, underground contractor, like that'll eat you away so quick in a job, and those tiny little footprints. Now, don't get me wrong. Um, you be as conservative as you can, but we try not to use a bedding box if we're in an open area, but bedding
Hmm.
boxes are essential sometimes to it's
Hmm.
like the only way to move the rock in those condensed situations. So no, I'm intrigued to see them. Maybe I need to just come on out there and tour the facility and do a video on
Yeah.
it, man.
Yeah, we'd love to have you come check it out. We can show you all the products we got and how our manufacturing process works.
I definitely, me and Will probably need to come out there and make a video for it. Obviously it would lend more to the YouTube side of things than the podcast side of things. But man, I think, you know, leveraging your construction background, not just once, but then to continually keep pushing the market and because I understand pushing things to market, it's not all the time they work out. Has there been a product, and this may be, getting a little raw here, but has there been a product that, you were like, well, we thought this was going to, do great. We were testing the concept and it just kind of didn't materialize?
The this year because we get slower in the winter because construction gets slower in the winter, so it slows us down too, right? So we're trying to figure out, okay, how can we supplement it? Well, a lot of contractors push snow in the winter. So we tried to fast track and launch a snow pusher attachment for skid steers. I feel
Oh,
like we got a pretty good design. I feel like it works pretty good. We hurried up and tried to get it to market and got it online marketing. And I don't, I don't know if it's like we're not established enough, or if there's too many established brands out there, or if we just missed the ball because we hit it in November and it didn't take off, like we had hoped. So maybe next year it'll go a little bit better, but.
well, no, for sure. And honestly, though, just sitting here, 30,000 foot view, being a contractor, talking with you first time, I'm like, oh, bedding boxes, these guys, anything with metal, these are the guys. They can put it together. I could probably call them up and make a. Would you entertain if I called you up and said, hey, I'm looking for a certain size for this? Do you guys do some custom fab in the manufacturing place?
Yep. And we even have different partners that we work with if we need to get something engineered or, get something a little bit more technical. So,
Impressive, gentlemen. Absolutely impressive. And so, how, so you guys are more concentrated on the mid to smaller contractor rather than dealing with the trommel size or the big shaker or any type of screens in that regard, correct?
Yeah, we've done. I mean, we you don't see that many of them out there. I mean, we've built them. We just built two large ones for the Air Force. Was it the Air Force? I think it was the Air Force.
yeah. Yep, it was the Air Force.
So
Massive. I
Y'all
mean,
been
they were 10 foot
everywhere,
tall,
boy.
17-foot wide. They were huge. We had to rent equipment to move them.
Oh my gosh.
yeah, we have one. We went to basically Area 51, supposed Area 51. We have one at Supermax prison in Colorado.
Okay.
And they're separate products. I had to deliver it. It was funny because Roggins, the one that sold it when he was in college, he wasn't old enough to deliver it.
I
We kind
wouldn't,
of
yeah.
provided delivery back in the day, so you had to be 21 to deliver there. And it was quite the trip. I actually went in the facility with the gates locked behind me. It's crazy. And I asked him, I
I
said, "What are you guys using this for?" "Oh, we're going to have the prisoners stack rock. We're going to separate the rock from the small ones to the big ones." I'm like, really cool.
that
Yeah.
is a little savage, but hey, it just goes to show how encouraging it should be for somebody out there sitting there listening with an idea And you may not be, and it goes to show that when two people get like-minded and have a goal about them, anything can be accomplished. And he may be sitting there with a great idea, but he may not be the refined execution, bring it to market guy. And there's those connections need to be made, and luckily you guys get to do it as a father son duo. I mean, that's incredible, guys, and I hope to do it one day with my 8-year-old boy. He grew up in my lap like they all have, tracos and skid steers and dump trucks, and that's the cool thing. And but anyhow, so have you I've just got a question on the manufacturing side. Welding wise, are you still hand welding everything? I know technology in the manufacturing welding world is tends to lean to like the robotic side. Is that on the radar for you guys?
Yeah, we just went to a show called Fab Tech this past year, and that's all about manufacturing automation. And checked out everything there, and to get some ideas. Right now we're not using any robotic welding. We have a CNC plasma table, which is used now pretty much standard for most welding shops. Um, and we thought about getting into it, especially when it comes to like the washout tubs or the batting boxes, because they got very long seams and have to be welded up watertight. Um, but it's something that, we need a new facility for. We need a little bit more electricity, a little bit nicer spot to have it. But there, there's affordable ones out there. And you can get, now you can have one welder manage four of these machines instead of just one welder welding. All he has to do is tack it up and let the machine go. It takes a little bit of programming and stuff like that, um, which is something to learn, right? That's a learning curve, and we've looked at it, but haven't done it yet.
I was just wondering, of course, technology seems to be a reoccurring subject on the show because no matter what industry I'm sitting here speaking with, technology is just running rampant, and it seems like we can't catch up. I know in the dirt and pipe world, it's just running us over, but it's cool to hear that this is American handmade
Yep,
product.
100% American with American steel, and yep,
That is so cool. Domestically made, domestically supplied, and that's a big deal with I know everything going on in the world right now, and wasn't going down that road, but I just wanted to highlight American made, American supplied, guys. That's I know there's probably other ways you could have went about that, but to hang your hat on that, I hope we can show some support some way somehow through the show back to you guys for just for that. It's just so cool to hear. Um, what has been, we've been talking about a lot of y'all strengths and the product, but I want to know kind of the biggest challenges, maybe challenges and advantages of working together family, because I've worked with family myself and I know it carries its challenges, but you guys seem so poised in your roles and how defined they are. Share maybe both of you a few challenges and maybe some advantages you guys, and
I,
maybe
I,
encourage
I
another family to do it.
so yeah, I'll tell you one that I kind of knew about was Henry Ford and his son Etzel, I believe his name was. He wanted to change the Model T, the Model A, and Model T, whatever. And he says, "Hey, the Dodge brothers over there, they're doing this, and they're putting headlights on and windshield wipers on." And O. Henry was like, "No, man, why would we want to do that? I mean, so he kind of stifled his son, and I got it in my head. There's no way that I'm going to do that to Rogan. I don't do that. And I also told Rogan in the very beginning, don't worry that if you have to tell me, something you don't like or whatever, don't worry. I understand. We went into it with a business mind, as if we're working for a company. This is what we're really doing. We have employees and they count on us, and I think that when we get together as father and son, we have a good time. But it's business. When we're business, and that's just the way it is. Yep.
yeah, I think being able to draw that line is important. And not every relationship that you have is gonna can stand up to have a a business relationship and a family relationship, but if you're comfortable that your family relationship can survive business, then I think it's okay, but you definitely don't want to sacrifice what you got for family over business. And yeah, my dad said there, it's when we go to work, we're working, and we have to be comfortable talking to each other as if we were coworkers and calling each other out or whatever it might be, to make sure that we're getting everything done and that we're held accountable. And I think coming into it with a business mindset as well and structuring it, and defining a role, like if you're going to hire somebody to do something, you define a role. And if you make the expectations clear in the beginning, then it's a little bit easier to hold each other accountable. And it's a little bit easier to say, not point fingers and things like that, and to take accountability as well as on yourself. And I think that's where we've done a good job, is just being organized and well defined and being able to listen to each other.
Man, I know exactly what you're talking about on the family prioritization over business relationship. And, I had a few of those relationships myself that couldn't handle the strain of both. And we chose family over business. And I'm so glad we did. And my wife and myself have been in it the entire time. I don't suggest that to many either. And she wouldn't either, to be honest with you, sitting here. And she has, anyways, with weathered and been I guess, my checks and balances. Like, it sounds like you guys have such a good defined check balance. Hey, I'm feeling this. What are you guys thinking about, this product design? Because you guys aren't just like going and running a project and constructing something. You guys are like bringing ideation from nothing, from a side hustle. Number one, I think that's just needs highlighted, but then into what it is today, and you just keep refining the process. I think the snow removal thing, I think, is 100% a good avenue for yourself, or maybe a new box blade design. I'd love to see you guys have your own snow design from what you guys have already done with the other products, like construction entrance. I know that sounds maybe. Where did that come from? Is it, obviously we're just always replacing construction entrances, but where did that idea come from?
Look, I was in Louisiana. You're talking about the rocks, the chalk out pads, right?
Yes, sir. The
Yeah.
yellow.
So I
Yeah.
worked for Kiewit down in Louisiana at the time, just before this, and we was on a liquid natural gas, which is under the uh, jurisdiction of FERC, which is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, I think. So it's the federal government. And they're inspecting you because we're on the Gulf of what is now America, Gulf of America, and the Calcasieu River. So we couldn't let anything get away from us. 300 and some acre site, $6 billion, and we had some track out pads that they're plastic. Believe it or not, a lot of people use them, and they were getting beat up with the heavy equipment. And I mean, one day I was thinking, man, I could make that better. And so we have one that's like nobody's ever made before. It's like a street pad with ribs on it, and so that's how we came up with that. I got to hit one more here. We just launched a really cool product, and it's a carrier for a mini excavator. So you just crawl right up there with your mini excavator, and it's like a bucket for your blade on your mini excavator. And you can lift it up, load it up with your bucket, your regular bucket, and then carry your material around, whatever it may be. And then you can lift it, it'll detach, and you can take your whole bucket and lift it up in the air and dump it if you want. So
Oh my God.
we just launched that.
Clip-on shovel dustpan
Exactly.
for a mini
Kind of,
blade.
yeah. It's like a material handler. Like you can put, fence posts like on it. We got little flip up tabs, and then you can stack your fence posts on there, or pipe, or whatever you might need, and then you can carry it around with you. And maybe it helps you stage out, say, fence posts as you're doing a fencing project or something like that. There's a bunch of different uses for it.
Oh, early on in the Resi days, what I would have gived to have that clipped onto a blade where I could have went around, and there's rough grade houses, final grade houses, be able to set it aside, run a blade real quick, throw it back on, get the roots picked up, set it aside. Like, I would have handed you the money. That is ingenious, guys. Yeah, I would be super pumped. But um, the continue the where's the future holding for you guys? I know this has all just come about so fast because it came from a side hustle, but you guys aren't reinventing the wheels. You're making simple American made designs and executing them very well, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I think, our principles of just trying to be a lean manufacturer and just try to, nobody was manufacturing these simple products. And so, if America wants to be back on its feet as the leading manufacturer of the world, well, we definitely got to start simply. And we got to be able to understand the basic processes first. And so, we're doing that in our field. I don't know exactly where the future will take us. We might be launching a lot more products. We might just be refining the process further. It just kind of depends on, kind of what the market demand is and what's out there. But, I think that we've got a good thing going. I think that we can help out a lot of contractors and get good products in their hands. And, we stand behind our products too. And that's something that's unfortunate about a lot of the products that come in from China. You get it, it gets here, it breaks, good luck with customer support. Um, and so we just want to make sure that we're selling good products to American contractors.
Or getting parts here in a timely manner that I'm yeah.
Lead times are just awful when stuff's coming overseas if it's not stocked in a warehouse here. And
Oh, no, I completely agree with you. Um, Real quick, guys, I I gotta shine some light. I no, well, I'd love to come out uh, with Cyclon's YouTube channel and really shine some light on all the products that you guys got going on. Would love to come out and I want to shine some light on Blue Collar Performance Marketing. He is another sponsor of the show today. They have been not only helping with the show here, they help with our YouTube and the value that guy and that team has been providing myself and my team behind the scenes, guys. Check them out. Blue Collar Performance Marketing, or I'm sorry, bcperformancemarketing.com. And if you let that team know that you heard it here on the Blue Collar Business Podcast, you can get a absolute free comped analytic review of your media and marketing in your company. Shout out to Ike and his team. I'm thoroughly impressed with the results I've had, but not only that, he's a partner. So shining light there, but I've got one last question for, I think Mike slipped out there, maybe a little
yeah,
connection
internet
issue.
connection might have dropped.
No big deal. But one last question that I ask pretty much everybody on the show, my guy. Um, those blue collar men and women that are sitting out there, and nobody better to get the answer from than you, that, say like Mike himself, that's been in this industry 30 years, or maybe somebody that's been in it 5 years, okay? But they're sitting out there and they just feel stuck and they're just
Hmm.
going to the same old job, and it may be mentally, maybe physically, emotionally, but how just speak to them, to those men and women that are sitting out there listening to the show and they're just stuck and they're looking for the word of encouragement and maybe bring a product to market or start a business to get some of the success where you're at, my guy.
I would say that if you're out there and you want to kind of go out on your own and be your own entrepreneur, and whether you're going to start your own service company or your own product company, the thing that I can say is that you need to identify where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are. Um, and then really truly like put some good thought into where your weaknesses are, because you're going to need help in those areas to be able to make it happen. Because you know not everybody's a manager, not everybody can do everything, right? But to make a business happen, you have to do everything. I mean, everything has to happen in business, whether it's accounting, marketing, building the actual products. Um, and so you're going to need help in those areas, and you need to find people that you can trust, that can help you out. And so I would say, find people like that that can help you build relationships, because it's all a relationship game out there. Honesty goes a long ways, because if people enjoy working with you, and they'll come back for more, and it doesn't matter if it's a product or a service, but honesty is, I think, a big value.
Dude. And not only, like you said earlier on in the show, it's if we want to call you guys, we can look up your website, dial the number, and we're going to get, may not be Mike or Rogan, but
No, but you can ask for us. Yep.
we've got Mike had a few connection issues. He had a day out of the office, so he jumped on here, probably on the top of a mountain somewhere out in Colorado, try and get some signal. But Mr. Rogan is going to share Mike's answer, and after being 30 years in the Kiewit is a ginormous company. Number one, I should have probably asked a little bit more about that, because my grandfather as well was, he was in the union in Canada, the construction union. Anyways, I had an opportunity to get grandfathered there, but obviously I moved south, and we're a non-union company. Now, don't get me wrong, not going into the benefits or non-benefits of that, because that's an argument worth on both sides. But at the same time, I literally recommended a guy not too long ago, on a highlight here, but guys wanting to go out on the road, but like Kiewit, they do massive projects, and they have, a successful way. So to hear all the projects that he'd been on, that's too cool, man.
Yeah, that one that he was talking about in Louisiana, that one was a $6 billion liquid natural gas project, and it was huge. It ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It did not stop for anything. And if somebody wants to work for Kiewit, definitely it's best if you can travel, because they're going to send you around.
Yeah, it's
Um,
not. This guy was a single guy just out of high school. He looked at me. He's like, man, he actually called me. He's looking for a job. And he's like, man, I'm looking for travel for per diem. Send me on the road. I'm like, man, that's not really kind of our design here at SciCon. And I'm more of
right.
family first. Want to
Hmm.
make sure everybody's covered and their needs are met, and hopefully some of their wants. But at the same time, I really don't want to be running projects all across the nation. Not saying one day that it won't happen,
Right.
but we like our local tri-state area that we take care of, and I like keeping them guys at home. They're happier at home.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's good to work within your bandwidth too. You don't want to get too outside and try to juggle too much in too many places.
Yep,
It's
keep the
hard.
main thing the main thing. Ain't that right,
Yep.
brother?
Yep.
So you
I
got it.
did get his answer here.
All right, let's hear it.
So his answer, is to stay focused, make sure that you are staying on task, because the minute that you deviate away, you're going to have a hard time coming back to it and making sure that you're accomplishing the goal that you set out to do. And then he also says that you should learn every day, um, because there's always lessons to learn, and everybody has a piece of advice, and something to learn from each person. So. And he says that he
Smart
really enjoyed the
on.
podcast, and he's very sorry that the cell service dropped. But
No, I hope he's getting to enjoy the day after a well-earned lifetime of working. Doesn't sound like he's slowing down at all, but if he's getting the time out of the office, I'm so glad he took the time to jump on here. And I appreciate you too, brother, seriously, for carving out the time. Out of the success, the amount of time you guys probably have is not much. So I really, really appreciate you guys. Number one, we got to highlight an American made product. What a story to just, oh, we thought about making some rock screens in the shop out back, and boom, here you guys are and taking over the entire market. So really looking forward to continued friendship and a relationship, and you guys be looking forward for that video about it's Bear Ironworks, and that covers they can go to bearironworks.com.
yep, you can go to beariron.com is the new one. It's the short one. But if you hit bearironworks.com, beariron.net, BearIron.com, BearIronworks.net. You'll hit it all. And we want to give out a discount to your viewers or your listeners of this podcast. If you use code Blue Collar, you can get 5% off your entire order, no matter how much stuff you add to your cart.
Can I use that? Because I need a bed box.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh man, guys, I really appreciate your time. And sounds like we might have to do a follow-up little episode when we get out there at some point in the year. So
we would be happy to have you out there.
You guys be looking forward to that. Until next time, you guys be safe, be kind, be humble. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a like, share it with the fellers, check out our website to send us any questions and comments about your experience in the blue collar business. Who do you want to hear from? Send them our way and we'll do our best to answer any questions you may have. Till next time, guys.